I want to read to you, because it's extremely important in the context of the criminality, not just of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and James Biden, but Dr. Anthony Fauci, who I call Dr. Mengele, for experimenting on people who will contract, have contracted, and have died from COVID-19. Section 23-582 of the Code of the District of Columbia provides unequivocally that a private person may arrest another who he has probable cause to believe is committing in his presence a felony or an offense enumerated in Section 23.581A2, or in aid of a law enforcement officer or special policeman or other person authorized by law to make an arrest. And any person making an arrest pursuant to this section shall deliver the person arrested to a law enforcement officer without unreasonable delay. Now, why is this important? Your Freedom Watch has gotten a conviction of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and James Biden for bribery from communist China, Ukraine, and Russia in a citizen's proceeding, a citizen's grand jury, and then a citizen's trial. We've been over that before. In fact, we have a sentencing set for September 7th. That's next week. And I want you to attend at freedomwatchusa.org or Freedom Watch's YouTube channel. I want you to watch, because the citizens of this country have a right to enforce the rule of law themselves under not just man's law, but the law of nature and nature's God, as it says in our Declaration of Independence. We also are in the process of seeking a conviction of Anthony Fauci, and the decision of the citizens judge will come out shortly. Fauci, through his actions, has killed in excess of 100 million people through negligent homicide. He gave the seeds of COVID-19, the SARS virus, to the communist Chinese lab in Wuhan, China, and he also pushed dangerous vaccines. Many people believe that he got kickbacks for that. That's not something that Larry Klayman came up with. That is the general consensus. But in terms of Fauci, what's extremely important is that Senator Rand Paul has sent a criminal referral to our so-called Department of Justice, which of course we know has become the Gestapo and used simply by the Biden administration to cover everything up. But Senator Paul set forth grounds, far more than probable cause, of why Fauci is subject to criminality. Not just his false testimony in front of Congress that he didn't do gain-of-function research with regard to the seeds of COVID-19, but also all of his other alleged criminal acts. As far as Joe Biden is concerned, and Hunter Biden and James Biden, there's no question anymore among anyone who has an IQ greater than 50 that they've committed felonies through their bribery from communist China, Ukraine, Russia, and now we find out Romania. Also, Joe Biden with regard to negligent homicide in Afghanistan, resulting in the death of 13 brave servicemen at Kabul airport, as well as 10 innocent Afghan allies. He wound up killing 7 of their children with a drone strike that he ordered so he could look tough after our 13 GIs were killed by terrorists, which he could have prevented. He had advance warning of this. And that is exactly why, interestingly enough, Senator Paul himself could go over to the White House with a contingent of other citizens and have Joe Biden arrested and have Anthony Fauci arrested. Of course, Fauci's no longer there. In fact, any of the congressmen or senators who parade around Capitol Hill, the Republican rhinos, using this to raise money in their dog and pony show, have the authority under District of Columbia law to arrest the Bidens and to arrest Fauci and to arrest others who it is clear, not even clear, but probable cause that a felony has been committed. At that point, they need to be turned over to law enforcement. So Freedom Watch, who has an actual conviction, actually has greater legal authority to even carry that out, because we have a conviction of the Bidens, and we're hoping to get a conviction of Fauci in the next few days from the citizens judge. This tells you something. Tells you something that we, the American people, have the power to enforce the rule of law ourselves. In fact, it's even ensconced in DC statutory law. So for Rand Paul to send a criminal referral to a Justice Department that he knows will do nothing against Fauci, or for the rhino Republicans on Capitol Hill who run around like chickens without their heads, like the Keystone Cops, one hearing after another. Oh, we're going to have an impeachment inquiry. We haven't seen that. But quite apart from that, they already have the authority to arrest the Bidens. They already have the authority to arrest Fauci and other criminals who have violated their code of conduct and criminality. They have the authority to arrest the federal judges in the DC court who are persecuting January 6th protesters, making them do forced confessions, to get down on their knees, begging for forgiveness for crimes they didn't commit. The peaceful ones I'm talking about, which were the overwhelming majority. This statute, in the most liberal, leftist, vile part of this country, the District of Columbia, which is a cesspool, tells you that if in fact the law exists in the District of Columbia, it exists in 47 other states, and the Republicans are simply playing games, they have the power to arrest the Bidens now, to turn them over to law enforcement, to arrest Fauci now, to turn him over to law enforcement, and we, the American people, with convictions, have that same authority. But I'll tell you this, we are always peaceful and legal. We're not going to be physical. But we, when sentenced, when the Bidens are sentenced, and when we get a conviction of Fauci, which I'm confident we will, and others, when that happens, the authority of law enforcement to carry it out is sacrosanct. The authority of even the military to carry it out is sacrosanct. The authority of any citizen in this country to carry out the arrest, peaceful and legally, is there. And when that happens, these criminals should be turned over to law enforcement. So let this serve as an example that the Republicans simply play games to raise money, to defraud you, to give them money for their fun and games. And the evil Democrats cover things up. I'm not just talking about the Bidens, but virtually everyone in Congress who's a Democrat. And the American people need to take matters into their own peaceful and legal hands. That's my message for today. Go Google it. Google that DC statute I just read, 23.582. And that'll tell you something about the sincerity of the rhinos of the Republicans on Capitol Hill, which are worse than a joke. A bunch of court jesters simply running around, trying to raise money, going on Sean Hannity on Fox News, beating their chest, but accomplishing nothing. I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast. Remember, the Father and Son will only help us if we help ourselves. And remember this about the Father and Son. They meted out justice when it was required, divine justice. Now it is time to mete it out.